Hello, welcome. My name is Obinaka. Welcome. I want to share with you what I call history of European education in Ghana. History of European education in Ghana. Sometimes you hear that if the Europeans had not come here to civilize us, we will not be where we are. They talk about all the things that the mission schools have done for us. Maybe, I don't know. But what I know is that the questions that we are asking ourselves as Africans, the grand scheme that the Europeans had, and all the achievements that we as a people have had, that they have tried to hide them, or play down, or make them seem like we've been a weak people all throughout. That has not been the case. The Portuguese came along the coast of Ghana, and when they came with the Catholics, they say, so some of them were Christians, as we know them. People will say that they were merchants, but at least they had some faith. So the faith that they had, we will say that they were Christians, so they came, and they say that they came to trade, but we know that they came to trade more than they should have. And so some of them did not succumb to their own belief system, which is love, which is kindness, which is justice. They didn't extend that to our people. So when they started to get involved with our people, the kind of education that they gave them ability to write their English so that they could communicate with them and read, and they gave them a lot of religious education. So that was just from the 15th century, 16th century, 17th century. They did that. And then somewhere along the 19th century, 1830s, going thereabout, they started to engage a lot of our people, those who had money, the chiefs, the children of the chiefs, or those that they had, had the Europeans, those the mulattoes, what they call the mulattoes, those that the children that they had from sleeping with the African women. They started to give them that kind of education. So their kind of education was not extended to every one of our people. Now, our people had their own system of education. And they will say that it was informal. You see, that's some when you go to the internet, anything that has to describe Africa, they try to use wrong words on them or demeaning words on them. They will call it informal or native or tribal. Those are the things that they will use. But if you go to the fact, as a matter of fact, now if you go to most of our kingdoms and you see the things that they do, those things that they do have had centuries of information. It's transfer of information from one generation to the other. They have had depth, the way they feed their children, the way they eat, the way they keep their records, the way they wear their clothes. A lot of them were not taught by the Europeans. Europeans just came the other day. Thousands of years before the Europeans, the Africans were still living. Now, these facts, see, when they attack our form of education and trivialize them, and brought the fact is that the kind of education that they brought was just for the reading, for the writing, and for religious education. Our way of industry, our way of science, our way of doing things, our way of production were trivialized. And so when we started to go to their school, the first people that they trained, we started to lose contact with some of the things that we so much knew, the sciences that we know, the trade that we know, the systems, the management systems that we know. The moment we will go to their school, they started to trivialize them. And so up until 1957, that Kwame Nkrumah was the one to give the mass education, free education to a lot of our people. That even did not extend to a lot of places. Now, the content of that kind of education, where you would need a lot of the sciences, the mathematics kind of education to help the people to think and to analyze issues as they should, much of it had not been given to our people. And those were intentional. So most of our people would then become their own science were destabilized, their own religion were attacked. So they came with the Basel education, the Wesleyan, the Methodist people also came alongside. They started to teach them about their Christianity, all those. So we started to do away with our own belief system one way or the other. But they did not give us the ability to think and to look at data in terms of, the things that they started to teach us. So they will say that, oh, they gave us, we have a lot of missionary schools in Ghana. Yes, but look at the courses that they were reading. Look at the courses that they were reading. When they started the so-called industrial revolution, after from the 14th century to the 18th century or the 19th century, that they started to say they had industrial revolution. So after they had collected, invaded a lot of places, had a lot of money, who will not be able to experiment? You invade a lot of places, you have money, you have resources, you can experiment anything, and you copied a lot of the technologies everywhere. Anyway, you'll be able to try. You pick a lot of the most intelligent people. You'll be able to try and come out with something and put your name on them. Now, after that, even during those times, the kind of education, the University of Ghana that we see in Ghana here, 1950 something that they started, a latter part of 1940s, to the early part of 1950s that they started to, even that the Africans, the JB Danquist would have to put up a lot of fight, and most of our people would have to bring money. They say that Gorgeous Beck did a lot of things. Yes, I hear that he was a good man. Maybe he wanted to develop the people, which is good, but the missionary education was devoid a lot of the times of the sciences, of the very things that will equip our people to develop, to turn the various raw materials into productive items that will help our people. So how are you going to develop when the people that we put in most political or leadership positions were given the kind of education that could not turn the raw materials into something beneficial? Just about the same time, they were also industrializing, so to say. They were giving their people engineering, mathematics, science education, but we were being given what kind of education? The latter part of the 19th century to the early part of the 20th century, what kind of education were we be giving? And what kind of education? Because you would need those kind of educations to civilize your people, and not to civilize your people, but at least to train your people to produce. Technology was not part of the kind of education that the Africans were being given that much. So Kwame Nkrumah took it up. He did a lot. He brought the belief in Africa, Pan-African education, which helped us. But as we talk now, the kind of education that we still practice, you see that when there is any situation in most African communities, the critical thinking as we want it, especially when you have been through school, I've been a bit low.